This is the story of a young man from Germany. His name is Bartholomaeus Ziegenbalg, and he was just 23 years of age when he arrived off the southeast coast of India in 1706. But most of us have never heard of him. What he found there was a Tamil population broken down and enslaved by Indian rulers in partnership with European trading companies, empire builders.
Ziegenbalg is considered to be the morning star of India, the one who introduced the concept of Renaissance.
The importance of Ziegenbalg in Indian history, he acted as a bridge between Europe and India at a time when such a thing was not available.
If you ask any educated Indian who knows about these things, I think the feeling is that Roman Catholicism came to India through the Portuguese, and Protestant Christianity came to India via the British. But people seem to forget that 100 years before the British missionaries came to India, there was Ziegenbalg.
Our story has an unlikely beginning. In 1704, the Danish king, Friedrich IV, lost his young mistress and her baby in childbirth.
In those days, kings and a lot of aristocrats had their legal wives, and several people who assisted them as concubines or maids.
It must have seemed to Friedrich like a divine judgment on his behavior, for he showed his remorse by responding to a long-standing plea of his queen, his mother, and his chaplain. They finally persuaded him to be upstanding as a Lutheran king and send missionaries to the native people of his trading ports.
Ideal of hospitality is unique in Tamil culture. So when a foreigner comes to this land, they consider him as their friend. That's why he lived among the people.
He learnt language here and it made him to communicate with people better.
The one most impressive thing, of course, is to study the work of Ziegenbalg, how he anticipated and developed all of the missionary style and the missionary experience for the next 200 or even 300 years.
So India has that the tradition of bhakti and Sufi, tradition, and the bhakti tradition is nothing but to sort of serve the people and the ordinary people and help them in their distress. So Bartholomaeus Ziegenbalg has a special place in the Indian society because he came for that particular mission.
At this point, Bartholomaeus showed his genius for translating Christianity into another culture. His pietist understanding of the story of Jesus Christ resonated with a similar piety found in the Indian religious tradition known as the Bhakti movement.
He found that poverty and he has a sympathetic approach to the people.
ஏன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இங்க காகிதத்தை எடுத்து கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்காங்க, அது நம்ம சீகன்பால்க் கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்காரு. அது மட்டும் இல்லாம இன்னைக்கு உலகத்திலே முன்னணியில இருக்குதுன்னா அது வந்து ஒவ்வொரு குழந்தைகளுக்கும்.
I belong to an untouchable community in India, and most of the students in this college studying here are Dalits, and we teachers go about teaching how Ziegenbalg did social and Christian and religious works here in this place, and how he converted people into people.
After establishing the church, the next most important thing he did was to create schools for boys and for girls, where they could be trained in their own language to understand Indian and European arts and sciences. However, all these gains were made in the face of the constant harassments of the colonial governor. He set out to undermine and destroy everything that Ziegenbalg and Plutchow did among the Tamil population.
Ziegenbalg's imprisonment is typical of the sort of tense relationship which often existed between colonial authorities and missions.
வீட்டை விட்டே வெளியில வரக்கூடாது, கணவன் இழந்தால் வெள்ளை புடவை தான் கட்டணும், பெண்கள் படிக்கவே கூடாது, ஆண்கள் தான் எல்லாத்துலேயும் முன்னாடி இருக்கணுன்ற ஒரு காலகட்டத்தில் இருந்தாங்க. சிரிக்கக்கூடாது, சத்தம் போட்டு சிரிக்கக்கூடாது, அப்படியெல்லாம் ஒரு சிறை வாழ்க்கையாக இருந்துச்சு.
Without God's protection and comfort, we would not be able to bear the situation here. God, who has protected us thus far, will also protect us in the future. The Danish ship that was to arrive here earlier has not yet come, and our suffering has increased. As the mission work grows, we need more co-workers.
Bartholomaeus Ziegenbalg understood the potential of printing to make knowledge accessible to a wide population.
The next thing was, of course, the printing press, through which he spread the language to people who earlier did not have access to traditional literature.
I feel that he was a very great person. Because of him, now this printing press is in India.
The very roots of printing in modern printing industry were laid in Tranquebar by Ziegenbalg. And from printing they went on to manufacture paper, they manufactured ink, and the industry really put down roots there.
The young men had taken on a lot. By 1713, Bartholomaeus' reports back to Halle were heavy with the difficulties he and Grundler had to deal with every day. The pressures seemed enormous. Bartholomaeus didn't know the governor had received written orders to destroy his work.
So the governor kept it secret until 1714, when things became very, very difficult, and one evening he showed it to him. See, I am also under orders. I have to carry out the instructions given by my employers. So Ziegenbalg decides, oh, the problem is not only here in Tranquebar, but the root is in Copenhagen.
In a time when 1 in 5 ships never made it to its destination, the level of urgency for the missionaries must have been enormous. Ziegenbalg decided to risk the sea voyages to Denmark and back, so he might gain peace with his real persecutor, the board of the Danish East India Company. Ziegenbalg's return to India began with great promise. Dorothea entered into their partnership with the same energy we saw in Bartholomaeus when he first arrived. She wrote home to her parents. Please don't worry about me at all. Everything here is fine. In fact, it's wonderful. We have found a house that is suitable for us. The Indians working on it seem happy people with beautiful faces, and despite a lack of tools, everything is well built. This was the most peaceful and productive period in the 10 years of the mission. Then Dorothea gave birth to their first son, Gottlieb. But about the same time as the birth of Gottlieb came the beginning of the missionaries' fiercest persecution.
Det, der slog missionen ud, det var, da der pludselig kom en instruks hjemme fra missionens ledelse, skrevet af en meget radikal pietist, der hed Christian Wendt, som så alt ydre kristelig arbejde som noget, man skulle undgå. Kristendom skulle være en ren, sjælelig foreteelse, og missionen skulle være en ren...
Nonetheless, Ziegenbalg conducted the dedication of the newly built Jerusalem church, the one we see in Tranquebar today. We get some ideas of the events that ended his life from Dorothea's letters back to Germany. It pleased God to place me into widowhood by taking away my beloved husband. He was sick.
Ziegenbalg's legacy provides an excellent model of how a stranger can go to a completely different society, get himself immersed in that society, and understand it through the eyes of the local people, and yet has the privilege of introducing new ideas and inviting them to engage in life-sustaining discussions over a long period of time, so that strangers do not remain strangers but become, as Ziegenbalg would call, snehidar, beloved friends,